Carl, let's talk the workplace, the future-proof workplace. We've been investing in hybrid workplaces for some time, and I guess my question to you would be, have we actually transformed productivity and enhanced productivity, or did we just digitize old ways of doing things?
I hate to say it, but both. It depends. But I think, depending on which side of the coin you look at, there will be some out there who will argue that you've effectively just digitized a lot of the old ways of doing things. Rather than having a lot of long in-person meetings, you've got a lot of long video calls, for example.
It seems to be more.
But then again, you could also argue that through the use of those new approaches to collaboration, you're driving better outcomes. I know for me, for example, the ability to actually be able to get on and talk to someone through video is much better than the old phone call. Seeing visual representation, emotions, it helps you engage and engage in a much better conversation with the person at the other end. But I think where we are right now with the infusion of a lot of the AI assistants and functions that are getting embedded into the tool sets, I think it's going to take it to yet another level. I saw some pretty cool examples of a recent announcement we made at Cisco Live Amsterdam, a translation agent, which you say, hey, we've had translation around for some time. But the ability to have real-time translation, I'm speaking to someone who maybe is not a native English speaker, and having that translation occur real time, but also carrying the emotion in my voice or the way in which I'm talking and including that in a translation kind of takes that engagement level to a slightly different level. And I think, they're subtle but really big differences that I think is going to have a big impact on the way in which we collaborate.
Often when we talk about office redesigns, office upgrades, we're talking wireless, we're talking networks, we're talking IT conversations. Are we really tapping into the value of the technology? Are the right stakeholders being engaged to really unlock the hybrid workplace experience?
That is a really great observation. There's a lot of power in understanding data, and a lot of these tool sets, things like Cisco Spaces, generate a lot of interesting insights that can be used in workplace redesign and workplace optimization. Real estate costs a lot of money, and so making sure that you are optimizing the use of that real estate is obviously paramount. Understanding people movement, people patterns, where people are kind of congregating is a really important part of that. One interesting use case that I learned about, actually this is going back a few years, in the US, we have quite a few major malls. And one of the things that they're doing is they're driving better business outcomes for their business because they're using things like spaces and hyperlocation to work out where people are congregating so that they can adjust leasing payments for stores that get more of the foot traffic than maybe others, kind of providing a little bit more equitability amongst the tenants, but also based on those traffic movements and where people are going. They're now looking at using digital signage to actually customize advertising, those kind of things, which is was generating a lot more revenue within an organization. Again, understanding the foot traffic where people are, you can use the digitization of the building as well to optimize energy costs, for example. You can look at how you can continually optimize and refine that space to best utilize that space. We had in Cisco found ways in which we can actually get more people inside the same amount of space and still drive a better outcome, better experience. Our New York Penn 1 office is a classic example of that. 40% more people in the space in terms of what we had before, but we're still maintaining a better experience for our end users over what we had before. So definitely this technology can be leveraged to drive better outcomes for the business, but I don't know that enough of our customers fully appreciate the data richness that they've got and how they can potentially use that to drive those better experiences.
So if you were to make one recommendation to organizations going through an office rethink, even before they get to the redesign, who should they engage early?
Definitely Cisco and Data Tree.
I actually meant which stakeholders, but I'll take that one.
Look, it's important to bring in the real estate folks, right? So the real estate folks obviously have a big play in this. IT play a big part in this as well, but also I think the finance people need to be brought in collectively between those stakeholders, making them understand the opportunity and the value that they can get from these new tool sets. When you start to think about office redesign, one of the biggest challenges that we still have today is that there's still this percentage of individuals who prefer to work at home versus the office. And I know that many organizations, some will just have a mandate, you got to come in, but that has impact on employee stability and retention. Kind of these are all factors. So how can we make the office more of a magnet than a mandate is what we say at Cisco. So making sure that we can explain these opportunities to those stakeholders, the real estate folks, about how you redesign and make best use of this collaboration technology, huddle rooms, group rooms, even to the point of leveraging this technology where you might have outside in the passageway a WebEx board, but using that technology to mute out ambient noise, to focus on only the people within us, in front of the little things, but they make a big difference to people who are on the other end of the call. And optimizing that space so that you can actually have more people engage in that collaborative activity. So real estate, finance, IT obviously has to be there as well. Maybe the governance folks and the risk folks as well, understanding if there's any risk involved in doing what they're doing also is really, really important. But collectively, having that interdisciplinary executive team, everyone coming together so that they all understand the value of what they can get from this.
Carl, it's always a pleasure sitting down with you. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to have me. Thank you very much.